he gets set to take on Boris Becker, and this will be by far his toughest match of this tournament. McEnroe leads their one-time rivalry 1-0, but that was before Becker really came of age. That was before Becker won his first Wimbledon in 1985.
Took an informal poll, Jack, of about 8 players yesterday, and I said, who do you think's going to win it? And 6-2, they said they thought McEnroe would end up ahead. He's 5'1", 165, 27, as you see. Ranking, of course, is so low because he hasn't played that much. He's seeded 4th in this tournament. Australia in the first round here in straight sets. His good friend Peter Fleming, you remember he beat his brother in the first round of this championship last year. Then Wally Mercer, 6'2", 7'6". And Agassi, who is a story, part of this championship that we'll tell you about later on, also in straight sets in the semi-final.
Boris Becker, 6 feet 2 inches tall, and I think that's a little short. He's more like 6'4", 175 pounds. He's probably up around 185 now. It's been a growing summer for this youngster. Number 3 in the world, number 2 ranked here. Defeated Bud Schultz and Ken Flack. And then Boris came back from 4-love down in that third set tiebreaker to defeat Kevin Curran, the man he beat at the Wimbledon Championships in '85 for his first title. And now he takes on John McEnroe. McEnroe to serve to open the match. Best of 3 sets, we will use the tiebreaker. The winner of this gets Yvonne Lendl in the final.
2 match points for Curran in that match with Becker. Boy, he would have liked to, I'm sure, have got his revenge for Wimbledon a year ago.
Richard Ings, the chair umpire.
He's from Sydney, Australia, just joined the tour, one of the paid officials.
Did you know him down there, Fred?
15 long.
No, Cliff, he's only a youngster that apparently has done a good job throughout the circuit in Australia, and they invited him to become part of the worldwide team. They say he's doing an excellent job. You said 6 of the 8 players polled picked McEnroe to win?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Surprise you, Fred?
It does a little because I think McEnroe, having been out, we all know how difficult it is to come back from having a spell of 6 to 8 months.
Surprised me. In fact, I asked McEnroe himself about it, and he told me that he thinks that his game is well suited to play against a guy who hits the ball like Becker does, and that was pretty much echoed by the guys that I spoke to who thought that McEnroe would win. They feel that he can take the pace off Becker's serve and use the pace to his advantage. Well, you're soon going to find out.
A boxer against a puncher. Some pretty good ones.
Well, this man does absolutely amazing things. He does them on instinct. Take a look at this. You don't plan a shot like that. That just happens.
Match nearly finished right there because Becker just about took the linesman's chair and a camera with him in that one, but he's okay.
Boy, that's a terrific second serve, and I think that's the big question in my mind anyway, as far as McEnroe is concerned. I think when he left the game 7 months ago, he wasn't serving as well, particularly his second serve as he was a few years ago when he dominated the sport. Now, if he can get that back, I think you're looking at a whole different story, and I think that he can be #1 as he tries to run away from some insect there on the court.
He's swatting a bee down here. We do have a few bees that are trying to get into the soft drinks and around the court.
40-30. first game of the match. John McEnroe's return against Boris Becker.
I think McEnroe can win this match. I feel that he has the answer to Becker. I don't think that this is Becker's best surface. And also, it's his first tournament since Wimbledon. Played a few exhibitions in Europe, but this is his first tournament of any consequence.
Okay, McEnroe. John McEnroe holds to open the match. Mac is back. But
McEnroe leads one game to
coming up next.
set.
Stay with us. Much more to come from Stratton. Packed house at Stratton Mountain, Vermont. I'm Jack Edwards, along with Cliff Drysdale
Boris
and
Becker
Fred
to serve.
Stolle. Boris Becker will get the serve here to John McEnroe, and what an interesting
please. Thank
difference
you.
there is between these two players.
Well, Boom Boom is just such a hard hitter, and McEnroe is more a finesse player. That's the basic difference between them. The similarities are that they rely so heavily on serve, both of them. So you may be sure that the first guy who cracks on serve, either because of the wind or because of the return of serve of his opponent, is going to be in trouble.
15 low.
Interesting play that. I wouldn't have expected for McEnroe to come in behind the second serve of Becker quite so soon.
I think that's going to be his tactic. I feel he's got to jump on that second serve.
Low.
McEnroe wide with the backhand, and Becker has held to 1-all. We're in the opening set, and Mac is back. This is John McEnroe's return to tournament play at the Volvo International Tennis Tournament. Of course, he has won the U.S. Open 4 times. He was the runner-up last year to Yvonne Lendl, and again, McEnroe having some trouble with an insect. But Mac has spoken so much about Borg, and Borg's retiring. And I think that he feels that tennis, the sport of tennis, missed Borg. I think he also has a sense that the game missed him during his absence.
Gee, I wonder why I missed that. He was all over it.
Love 15.
Just must have taken his eye off it at the last minute. I asked him yesterday about Borg, as a matter of fact, Jack, and he said that as far as he was concerned, they are not the same kind of person. And he didn't speculate entirely as to why Borg retired, but he said, I'm not the same kind of person, but don't expect the same result. I think he's competitive, he's compelling. I think he loves the sport. I think he wants to leave the sport with a different image, the one that he has enjoyed so far. And of course, he has been watched. Every move of his has been watched carefully throughout this championship. He is making an effort. He's made it clear that he's trying to make the effort. Let's give him a break.
Jimmy Connors alluded to the fact, too, that the sport missed him, that they felt at Wimbledon, whether he was there, they didn't want him, and then they missed him there. And
good.
Yes, I think we did miss John McEnroe a little bit. It's that kind of genius that he can so often pull off.
An incredible shot.
15,
Now, take a look at this. Now, any other person is out of this point. Boris Becker's got a tremendous reach at the net, and look at this, a little hook shot into the backhand corner. And remember, he had to find an angle out of that because that lob was right down the middle of the court. Outstanding shot from McEnroe.
He had to have a sense for where Becker was and what he was doing. 15-30.
30 all.
the early stages of this match are going to tell the story whether this young man, the Wimbledon champion, can get on top of McEnroe. McEnroe can hang in there, but he must serve well against Becker.
So,
40-30.
From left 30, it is 40-30.
Only the sixth tournament that Boris Becker has played on hard courts, believe it or not. He won one.
Another eight. McEnroe finds an early groove, and he leads. As you look at Tatum O'Neal,
McEnroe leads 2 games to 1.
Is this the next so-called greatest player in tennis?
So-called greatest. I'm not sure how many greatest can
Quiet,
there be.
please.
I'm sure that he's going to be number one in the world without question. He's already number two. He's closing in on number one. We'll may have a chance to see him play against the number one in the world tomorrow because Lendel's in the final already. But make no mistake,
Quiet, please.
Boris
Thank
Becker
you.
is for real. The thing I like about him best of all is the fact that he has the mental attitude and bearing of a winner. He expects it. That's why he enjoys it. Very little negative body language from Becker. He walks around like he expects to win, and 9 times out of 10 he does.
The components of his game: power, aggressiveness, and good touch for a man
15
so
leg.
big.
Well, you know, he bases it on power, of course. That's the main ingredient. But he can do what you just saw him do there on the replay, a slight softening of the wrist when he made contact with that. And presto, you have a drop volley.
Becker and McEnroe, they dreamed of this match at the Open last year. They had to wait until now.
All.
That was the best way. He played well of McEnroe's game, and that was that he could chip that second serve, come into the net, and make you go for the passing shots. And who can pass McEnroe enough to win a match against him? Nobody, including Becker. You've got to somehow keep him away from the net.
Not only the youngest and the first unseeded player to win Wimbledon, but also the second youngest when he won it this year.
30-15.
Aside from Volkswagen, Becker is the most recognizable name in Germany.
Through. Fault.
Another ball through the net. We've seen a few of those today. Saw some in our first semifinal, which Yvonne Lendl won over Connors.
30 all.
What happens sometimes when you try to do too much with the second serve, and you often try to do that when you know that if you don't hit a good one, the guy's going to pressure you on it.
John McEnroe seems to spoon that forehand around the court.
Well, he does. He sort of, he doesn't have a big forehand, doesn't have that continental sort of, even Becker has it, that big topspin. He, as you said, sort of spoons it, spades it.
Deuce.
Interestingly enough, McEnroe, when asked to show his forehand grip, grabbed the racket and said, "This is everything. This is not forehand. This is backhand. This is volley. This is serve." Slight variations sometimes for the backhand.
Advantage Becker.
Basically, he's a continental player. Plays with a continental grip. And when you are, you use the same grip for every shot, including serve. And he does. Lever used to do the same thing. Emerson, even the great Fred Stolle, all played that way. But it's very seldom that a player does that today. Most players, Becker included, have a very different forehand grip to backhand. Borg started that.
Deuce.
Off the line.
You know, he hits that ball a lot harder than what it looks like, because Becker, there's a lot more energy that goes into his shots. McEnroe, as you said, sort of slides around the court, plays with the ball, but when he uses his shoulders like he did on that last shot, he generates a lot of power as well.
Hits it very early. I think both these boys hit the ball earlier than most other players on the tour.
The forehand, which dives low to the backhand volley.
Advantage McEnroe.
Open court, McEnroe gets to it. I don't think he's much slower, really, and hooks it cross court. Now, he's been able to hook that forehand on the run cross court better than any other player in history, in my opinion. This is break point.
Let's see if he attacks this one.
John McEnroe says, "I am back." He has broken Boris Becker. It's the first break of serve in the match, and McEnroe leads 3-1.
Game McEnroe. McEnroe leads 3-1.
He had a chance to get in there earlier than he finally made it to the net. It was interesting that he hesitated. He has a lot of respect, obviously, for the way this man hits the passing shots.
Well, at the first changeover, Cliff, McEnroe had a word with Becker about respect, and we don't quite know what it was. We didn't hear all of it, but it just showed by his reactions after that game he wants Becker to show some respect.
15 love.
McEnroe has been very careful with his behavior, as one would expect. The media focus McEnroe is unbelievable this week.
Mm. 30 love.
But he is as aggressive as ever, and one who shows his spirit and thirst for victory as much as ever.
A little insight here, courtside.
playing the lines out on that side?
Becker has said just one close call for me, please. And McEnroe said, well, are we playing the lines out on that side of the net? So there is a little bit of animosity down here.
Because the passing shot from McEnroe was exceedingly well played. Now, it's one thing to get the ball back to where you give him another chance to make the passing shot, but take a look at this here. You see, he gets this one now. He hit this ball particularly well, I thought. Now, from that position below the level of the net to hit a clean winner like that is very well done. Sometimes you can hit a good volley, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to give your opponent another chance to pass.
30-15. It shouldn't surprise us that there is a little bit of animosity between these two young men. After all, one is considered the present genius, the other is considered the genius of the future. And any time there is what is perceived to be an impending changing of the guard, the one who has the status to lose doesn't often take well to that.
Game McEnroe.
John McEnroe holds serve. He is up a break and is in control of the first set at
McEnroe
4 games to 1.
Bring that back.
Well, Cincinnati needs Mac to beat the Swedes. Come to the ATP. Urge the signs. John McEnroe is scheduled to play Canada and then in Jericho, New York, I believe.
That's correct. And whether that was exhorting McEnroe to go to the Cincinnati or just the pokes. He's not going to be there.
15 love.
That sound, which is not unlike that of a baseball bat hitting a rug, hanging on a clothesline, is Becker's serve hitting the back wall.
Suspension of play due to rain.
Suspension of play due to rain, says chair umpire Richard Ings. McEnroe and Becker head for cover. The umbrellas go up, and we do suspend play. 23 minutes into the match. The umbrellas go up. We'll return to Stratton Mountain, Vermont. If you don't like New England weather, wait about 10 minutes. It is certain to change. We'll be back with more right after this.
I try to put in, say, between 3 to 5 hours of practice a day, plus certain running drills, plus certain calisthenics. I try to get myself to relax as much as possible and enjoy it. It's more important to realize the long hours that you put in on and off the court to get to this stage in your career. I feel like every time I step on the court that you want to do everything in your power to win because you deserve it.
Prince, let the games begin.
Play has been suspended temporarily at the Volvo International Tennis Tournament semifinal match between Boris Becker and John McEnroe. McEnroe is up a service break, leads 4-1. Becker was up 15-love in his service game. The 6th game of the match when play was suspended. Court is drying out pretty quickly. We expect the players to be coming back quite soon, and we anticipate more action if we don't get hit by another one of these summer showers. Had a chance to talk to Boris Becker yesterday, and Boris, of course, is well known for his 2 Wimbledon victories here against Kevin Curran in 1985 and also in '86 against Yvonne Lendl. Becker likes his strengths, but he also likes the contrast between his game and McEnroe's.
I learned to play tennis in clay, so we never played on hard court in Germany. I'm a tall guy, I can serve pretty well, so I should play well on every fast surface, if it's grass, indoor, or hard court. Let's say it's easier for me than on clay. And so I think I already won a tournament on hard court Cincinnati last year. And I mean, when I'm in good shape and my service going, I have a good chance.
Becker is obviously strong on grass with the 2 Wimbledon titles, but he thinks he's playing on McEnroe's best surface here at Stratton.
he's a great player, and he can play, I would say, on every surface, but he learned to play tennis on hard court, and it suits to his game the most, probably. But I mean, I think I learned also quite good on hard court. I can play some good tennis, and it's going to be interesting.
Well, it has been quite interesting so far. John McEnroe up a break, leading 4-1, and we anticipate more tennis action coming up after this rain delay ends. So stay with us for more of the Volvo International on ESPN.
Asked for it, and Rebecca's questioned a couple of calls, said that just give me one close call, that's all I want from you, one close call, and McEnroe said, well, you know, down that end of the line is on the line out. So there is a little bit of a verbal exchange going on. Ken Farrar has just told the players to go on and play. The court is dry, so we're back to the action.
Becker served his first ace. Take a 15-love lead in the game when play was suspended, and that is where we will pick it up.
The last Nabisco Grand Prix appearance of John McEnroe was in the Australian last December, and he lost in the quarterfinals there to Slobodan Zivojinovic. I wanted to tell you that really just to let you know that I have now learned finally to pronounce his name. He beat Lecomte
15-love, Becker to serve.
earlier then, and then of course he played in the Masters, Nabisco Masters in New York after that, and he lost to Brad Gilbert.
The rain delay lasted 41 minutes.
That time, of course, that Brad Gilbert lost, he has not played in a championship match.
15 all.
Neither one of these two guys have played, at least Becker rather, has not played since Wimbledon. McEnroe obviously has not.
Well, here comes a big point for Boris Becker in this first set. He does not want to fall behind 2 breaks, and also in a position which would allow McEnroe to serve out the set. McEnroe's been very strong on serve so far.
2 breaks will do it for McEnroe, that's for sure.
All.
Richard Ings there giving the nod of approval that this linesperson did call that one correctly.
I think he thought that McEnroe might whack him one right into the body somewhere. What's
30-40.
Look at him. Don't tell me that he's lost too much. I'm not sure that he shouldn't have been called for having his racket over the plane of the net.
Richard Ings actually called Becker's shot a foul shot, so the point was over before McEnroe played it.
Break point here.
Terrific passing shot from Becker. Any time that often an approach shot like that from McEnroe, you can make a passing shot that he cannot volley for the winner, means it's a good one. McEnroe actually was on that ball, didn't execute the volley, but it doesn't happen often. He is one of the finest volleyers in the business. In fact, he's the best volleyer in tennis today.
Advantage Becker.
although John had the chance to break again and go up
McEnroe leads 4 games to 2.
5 games to 1, it is now 4-2. And Becker with a chance to break back and put it back on serve. Let's see how aggressive Becker is against McEnroe.
Net, first serve.
You called it. You called it.
Becker just checking with Richard Ings in the chair.
You think it was a net, Fred?
Yeah, well, the let umpire didn't call it. Richard Ings did call it, and Becker said yes, I think it was a let, but he was just checking Richard Ings just to see who was responsible for the call.
First serve.
Watch his hair blowing. You can tell it's still very windy down there.
I was right in the middle of my serve.
It's okay. One serve.
Okay?
One serve.
Little gamesmanship going on.
McEnroe wants 2 serves.
McEnroe just said to Becker, you've got a lot of nerve, you know that?
Love 15.
Becker's the youngest man ever to have made $1 million. He's made that already. This year he's made $413,000. Lendl is on top with $672.
Becker wasn't able to recover in time as McEnroe yanked him side to side. 15 all.
15 all.
Excellent hustle here from Becker. He hit one of those for a winner earlier. Then he did slip slightly on the court. That may be just a little bit wet. If it is, very dangerous down there.
Well, it is just spitting with rain down here. Not very heavy.
15.
He won one of those 6 hardcourt championships that he played in, the ATP championships last year in Cincinnati. I'm sure he's going back to defend that title.
Becker wants to know if McEnroe's talking to Becker or to Richard Ings. A little bit of needling going on.
His English has improved in the last year. He's had to speak a lot.
I like that one.
Boy, that's a tough serve right into the body. Always was his best serve. A little early to tell, Fred, but he's serving a very high percentage of first serves, up in the 70% range. But I am astounded at how well he's serving. I thought he'd have a little difficulty getting back into the serve.
Okay, McEnroe.
McEnroe with the ace, his first of the match. John holds for a 5-2 lead. McEnroe is up a break on a blustery day in New
McEnroe
England.
leads 5 games to 2.
And both players showing plenty of bluster. ESPN brings you the Volvo International Tennis Tournament final between Yvonne Lendl and the winner of this match you're watching right now between John McEnroe and Boris Becker. It is tomorrow, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time.
Ladies and gentlemen,
12:30 Pacific on ESPN. Pretty wild weather in New England. You can see about 4 different layers of clouds over the ridge right there, and that is blue sky out there. Don't know if we're going to see any of it over this Stratton Mountain court today. Again, though, Becker serving, has to hold to stay in the set. Down a break.
15 love.
Second ace.
McEnroe started out this match very cleverly, in my opinion, by attacking Boris's second serve. I think that kind of puts him mentally on his heels.
That tells you something right there. Becker questioning the call, and McEnroe cracking the backhand into the net. There is something extra going on after every point out here. An extra step, an extra gesture, maybe just a word, but something.
Terrific shot here from Becker down the line there for the winner. Now he has to hit those kinds of passing shots to make an impression on McEnroe, because Mac is attacking his every second serve.
30 love.
$30-15.
For McEnroe, that's a lot higher than he normally serves, and 48 for Becker, that is lower than he normally serves. Score reflected 2-5.
40-15.
First double fault for Becker. Second.
McEnroe yesterday beat Andre Agassi, man who beat Tim Mayotte in the second round. He's quite a story. He was ranked number 310 on the Hewlett-Packard ATP computer earlier this summer. He's done a lot since then.
The power game. Advantage Becker.
Advantage Becker.
Agassi turned 16 in April. A young hope for the USA.
Second serve.
Saw McEnroe favoring the forehand side.
Deuce.
Second double fault of the game, third of the match for Becker, and back to deuce.
The wind still a factor down there, Fred?
Not so much at the moment, Clip. It's dropped a little. I think, like you mentioned, we felt that McEnroe had to climb on that second serve, and of course Becker now is pressing a little on the second serve, going for a little too much.
Precise volley, advantage Becker.
Advantage Becker.
McEnroe's a counterpunch on the return. You see how Becker bends his knees so viciously. It's the thing that starts his whole serve motion. And then McEnroe just chipped it back.
And Becker holds to 3-5. Now
McEnroe leads 5 games to 3
for the first set. Fred Stolle, the mood on court seems a little bit tense.
It's a little tense, but a little bit of cat and mouse stuff going on, but that's what this is all about. It was the same in the first match. I think that's professional sport. They're into the semi-finals now. Both these guys want to get into the final. I don't think they're doing anything unduly wrong at the moment, but they're just having a crack at one another just to see if one or the other will lose their cool, and then, of course, possibly the match. I think it's good stuff.
Flying down the line, but missing wide.
15 love.
Deep with the volley.
30-15.
That's something that McEnroe can't stand. He got a great serve in there, had the open court for the volley. Such a perfectionist, he doesn't expect to miss those. And that would have given him 3 set points.
Now he has 2 at 40-15.
40-15.
John McEnroe holds and closes the first set, 6 games to 3. McEnroe and Becker. More next.
New balls, please.
Yes, I think they're going to call it off, Jack, because the court, once it gets...
Ladies and gentlemen, suspension of play due to rain. Thank you.
Can't take the risk of letting these guys turn ankles or maybe end their careers.
John McEnroe making his way off the court once again. We will be back with more tennis at Stratton, Vermont. Right after this, John McEnroe leads.
Becker to serve.
We return for the opening of the second set. Boris Becker to serve, the man you see on your screen, John McEnroe, and in the inset, that is Tatum O'Neill, John's wife, mother of their son Kevin, who was born in May. Boris Becker to serve to open the second. Rod Laver has consented to join us for a few games here, and Todd, I wanted to ask you, you were talking with Cliff about these two guys trying to establish ground, in your words, and we saw a lot of gesturing going on there as play goes on here. I'd like you to elaborate on that a little bit, and if there are any parallels that you had in your career when you ran into an up-and-comer.
Play on that, please.
They're calling a let with that piece of paper flying across the court.
Yeah, well, I think Boris Becker came in as a wild card, and I really think he came up to play John and try and establish something here in the beginning, because, 2 weeks from now, the U.S. Open's on. He wants to try and, if he can, catch up with him and maybe get a win over John. And if that's the case, he's going to feel, strong going into the U.S. Open.
What you're saying, Rocket, is that you think that Becker came here especially to play against McEnroe when McEnroe had just come off the break?
I think that's true. Cliff, he thinks that maybe John's not going to be really timing the ball cleanly, and he'll get a start. And I think confidence has a lot to do with Becker's game.
We are sitting here on the top of a scaffolding
30-15
deal that is, I don't know, it's 100 foot high, I guess, but...
I'd say 45, but it seems like 100.
Well, it is blowing like it's 200. It is cold and it is windy. Make no mistake.
Fred Stolle, what's it doing on the court?
It's blowing, same sort of thing. It's very gusty.
Well, I feel sorry for you fellas up there. It doesn't look too safe.
Thanks a lot. Those numbers for our confidence.
Beautiful and warm down here, though, now that the sun's out.
Tropical New England, we call that.
That's the third for Becker.
First serve.
Second serve from Boris Becker. He charges in behind it and pounds away the forehand. Becker has held serve till to the second set.
John McEnroe to serve. Seats, please,
that's
quickly.
Us up
Thank
in
you.
The tower, and what a way to go. A blustery New England day. John McEnroe to serve at love one in his second set.
The wind blew that ball right into him, and he didn't finish the stroke. Watch it here now. This was a very good get by Boris, and he throws it up in just the right spot, too. Now the wind is blowing it over his head, further and further over his head. Finally, he just didn't finish the swing.
12-15.
Rod Laver, a quick word from you, because I know you were fascinated by the first match earlier today between Connors and Lendl.
I thought it was a tremendous match. It seemed like the only difference was that Lendl was serving just a little bit too strongly. His great first serve was working for him, and I think Jimmy, maybe the 34-year-old legs hurt him on some of the wide ones. Just wasn't quite getting back to it, but they did have some terrific rallies. Good accuracy, good depth on the ground strokes.
started out serving rather poorly, actually, first serve percentages, but then he got a lot better at the end, and that's what did it for him. Rocket, the wind was a factor when they played earlier today, which was testimony to how well they played.
I believe. I think Jimmy, of course, led 1-love in the third set there. Looked like he was going to come through and make a real close match of it.
30-15.
Jimmy's always a battler, and you never accuse him of not putting his best foot forward.
Course now at 40-15 for McEnroe. Becker thought that serve was long, but it's not going to get overruled.
I think McEnroe's ready to serve a second serve, too. He has not gone over to the other side of the court, but he's got the call, and he's going to take it. Watch the replay here. Certainly wasn't wide. It may have been long.
From my vantage point here, it was long. However, it's 40-15.
Wind is blowing the ball into McEnroe's face as he tosses the ball up.
Rocket, I have one for you down here. As a left-hander, do you think it's an advantage to McEnroe? Becker's favorite backhand, I think, is when the right-hander serves into his body and he hits that off backhand, just throws himself at it. And against McEnroe, that ball's going away from him all the time. He doesn't seem to have the same accuracy on that return, or hasn't had so far today. No, I completely agree, Fred. He's
Game McEnroe.
John has really has mastered that particular shot on the second court. Pulls it real wide, gets up high, especially on a hard court like this, and swings out. And Boris just can't, even if he gets it back, he's so far out of court. And the one thing that I'm surprised at with John is that he's volleying, I think, extremely well for having not played any real competitive play for the last 6 months.
Love.
In the first set, he served 3 out of 4 first serves in, Rocket. I didn't expect him to come close to that percentage.
No.
Again, for the first time out in such a long time.
I think he's very refreshed. I chatted to him a couple of months ago, and he really wanted to put on a different approach and come out with a positive mind that if he lost, he lost. He wasn't going to create a big storm over it. But, I think inwardly, I think he does feel good about his break. I question whether it was that long. I think it might be too long. But he's certainly playing a solid game at the moment.
Rod, you've seen the evolution of the professional tour with players like Borg, McEnroe, now Wilander, facing what they have called burnout, and what people around them have called burnout. Is the tour too tough? Are there too many events? Are there too many pressures on the very top players?
Well, I think there's a great deal of pressure on the players today. It's not only the fact that there's a tremendous amount of great talent out there that you've got to beat all the way through up to the finals. You've got a great number up there on top that are playing extremely well. And we call it tennis, just tennis, tennis out. And we have a couple of weeks off. But, I think the amount of money that's being played for, we talk about the Nabisco Grand Prix points that are so important to everyone. I know that just at this moment we're looking at McEnroe. He's
40-15.
not going to get into the last 8 of the Nabisco Masters unless he wins every tournament. So it's making it tough. But I think they're really, they need some time away. And I think it's a good thing that they do have a coach and some quiet time to not be exposed to the public.
Blendl has been off since Wimbledon. And basically so has Becker, who holds the 2-1. Thank you very much, Rod Laver, for joining us up here. We'll return to the Volvo International semifinal. We're in the second set. Stay with us.
Quiet, please.
The pupil and the coach, Boris Becker, Gunter Bach.
Quiet, please.
Rod Laver is right. I wonder if it was Gunter's idea to come here and try and catch McEnroe while he's cold. It's an interesting idea.
McEnroe waiting for Becker. Serving at 1-2. That return of serve was just going to nip the line. Wasn't much McEnroe could do with it.
Plus, he blocked that one almost to slice the return, which he doesn't often do, and I think it's a good play. Lendl did that. Certainly in the lane.
More of a miss hit, that one. He didn't quite get it in the meat of the racket, so it took the pace off it, just floated over the net.
Becker stumbles, does not appear to be hurt. McEnroe with a big serve. And a nice volley.
One thing Boris Becker can't do here is really dive and take the tumbles that he has the luxury of doing on the clay courts or on the grass.
Grass stains, Deco Turf 2, bruises and breaks. Second serve at 15-all.
He's lost none of that volley, has he? Tremendous feel off both wings, forehand, backhand, side. If you give him a look at the volleys, you're going to come second because he doesn't miss them.
He's closing in very close to the net, though, Cliff. Following in that, backing up that serve to perfection at the moment. He's way inside that service line when he makes that first volley.
Half the battle. Get that close.
Well, the second serve, which has been under scrutiny, is holding up well against Becker.
Boy, I should say that was perfectly directed, too. That was into the right-hander's right hip, so he tried to run around and hit the backhand side. He's moving when he tries to hit the ball. And, of course, you saw it didn't work.
Game McEnroe.
2-all. McEnroe is unbroken. Now in 7 service
Two
games.
games all.
Sorry about the wind, because I think that it takes something extra. It adds a new dimension in this thing that, of course, not going to be true 9 times out of 10 when they play. No less interesting.
Low.
This is slowly developing into a serving contest.
15 approaches from Becker, 37 from McEnroe. McEnroe's 126 and Becker 10. Both very high percentages when they come in. The question I suppose you'd ask yourself, and I would agree with you, is why doesn't Becker come in a little more?
Ball. Ball's wide. 15-all.
Immediate clear call by Richard Ings.
Was that an overruled, Fred? I couldn't see the linesperson.
The linesperson never called it, and Richard Ings did so immediately. McEnroe's having a problem with these bees down here.
Well, Boris with some trouble. That is his 5th double fault.
He's under pressure on that second serve all the time. Doesn't know whether McEnroe is going to attack it.
Plus, I think it's tougher to serve when the ball is being blown away from you, as is the case now with him.
the pace. McEnroe supplies the placement. 2 chances to break at 15-40.
Well, you can't let McEnroe get in on you like this. That wasn't that bad a shot, but he nevertheless chips it so effectively, comes in, and now look at him. He's got the open court, and as I said before, he just doesn't miss the volleys. You've got to take the net away from him or you're in a lot of trouble.
2 chances to break. It only took 1 break in the first set.
$30-40.
From McEnroe to make that passing shot. He could have made any of them, but Becker covered the net extremely well. Watch him in isolation here. Low. Now, that's not an easy volley to hit. Let's take a look here. This one, he was still out of position. Now a third. And you could tell he's really not anticipating those either. That is more, look at his reaction, instinct.
2 break points survived. We're at deuce.
Advantage Becker.
Fights off 2 breaks, wins 4 points in a row, and holds to 3-2 in what could be a pivotal game in the second set.
Ladies and gentlemen,
yes, Cliff, I'll tell you, it's a tough life that you and I lead. Last week, Vail, Colorado. This week, Stratton, Vermont. Pick your poison. You know, it's a tough job, but somebody's got to do it, and I guess it's you and me.
And we go where ESPN goes. Ed Redding goes where the tour goes. He's still got the best job in corporate America.
And Fred Stolle, glad you could join us this week. You had to suffer through Newport, Rhode Island last week. Poor thing.
15 love.
I'm getting accustomed to the weather down there anyway. We ought to be accustomed to this. This is the veritable Fremantle doctor blowing in here. McEnroe serving at 2-3. That was his 4th ace. Nifty return, just picked the line.
McEnroe has broken serve in this tournament so far 12 times, and he's only been broken once.
That last service game, Cliff, may well come back to haunt him if he is to lose this serve after having 2 break points to really assert himself in this match. Very important game, that last one.
I couldn't agree with you more, Fred. He has not, by the way, yet had any break points against his serve today.
Backhand. Forrest has not as much even forced McEnroe to deuce on his own serve. Becker hasn't won more than 2 points against McEnroe in any service game.
See, I thought if Becker had the chance to win this, he was going to have to be a lot more effective behind McEnroe's second serve. So far, he hasn't really been able to do anything effective against his serve, first or second.
They met in 1985 in Milan. But if you are advising Becker, do you throw that out? Because that was before Boris Becker became Boom Boom.
Yep, you throw that out. Doesn't count.
40-15.
He was a youngster in tennis terms and in terms of chronological age. He's still just a youngster, but at the time they played before he was, what, 16 or late 16, early 17 years old.
Watch this second serve of McEnroe again. See if he goes to Becker's backhand again.
Okay, McEnroe.
All the way across. Stretched him wide, and Boris couldn't get near it for the 5th ace for McEnroe. He holds again
3
easily.
games all.
And we are at 3 games all. Fred Stolly, what has Boris got to do on the return of serve to start getting in these games in which McEnroe is serving?
I just believe he has a lot more difficulty with the left-handed serve going away from him. As I mentioned, his favourite serve is the one coming into the body, that he doesn't move his feet and he cranks up on the backhand, hits it away from his body. Tough shot to play. But against the left-hander, he has to move his feet because the ball's going away from him, not coming into the body. I think it's a much more difficult shot for him.
When I talked to McEnroe yesterday along those lines, he said that he thought that Boris was heavy and didn't move particularly well for his caliber of player. That's why he thought he had a chance, good chance.
30 love.
McEnroe thought he could have handled that. Mac is back.
40 low.
But Becker is booming. Boris holds it low. And he puts his nose out in front. 4-3 on serve. Second set. McEnroe
Becker
won the
leads
first.
4 games to 3.
Fact. Americans are investing their money in unprecedented numbers.
Interesting serve comparison here. 2 of the finest serves in the world, not executed in the same way. Now, they both get a nice shoulder turn in it, but there's a difference
Seats,
even in
please.
that. Take a look at this position. You see where Becker is. Look at the extent of his knee bend. Now watch McEnroe. You'll see that he is actually at a certain time facing
Quiet,
in the
please.
opposite direction right there to that in which he's going to hit. Now, you'll see Becker come through the ball. He has a real good shoulder rotation into it. From a slightly different position, McEnroe does the same thing. Tremendous shoulder rotation.
McEnroe serving.
15 love.
Notice that all the gesturing seems to have been left by the wayside. Getting down to the serious stuff at hand here.
15 over.
It's only 3 from Mac, but then I'll say that only 3 because the wind I thought would have encouraged him to serve a few more. His second serve has been particularly good. He's won 3 out of 4 points when he's got his first serve in, and only a few less behind his second serve. Excellent statistics.
30-15.
Listen to this comparison. This will interest you, Jack. Becker has won 85% behind his first serve, but when he misses his first serve, he's at 41%, so he wins fewer points than he loses when he misses his first serve.
Boris not even putting the ball in play most of the time against McEnroe's serve. That is the
4
case
games
again
all.
there. McEnroe yielding only a point on a double fault. And McEnroe has won 16 points on serve. He missed the second set while giving up but 5. 4 games all. And at this point, every game is a huge one. Because if Becker should be broken, McEnroe would serve for the match. Should Becker hold and then in turn break McEnroe, 3rd set.
Low 15.
I think Becker, like everybody who plays McEnroe, when he's playing well, feels flustered. He can do that to Lendl. He can do it to anyone in the world, McEnroe. You miss the first serve, he starts to attack. Then you start to press a little too much, miss the passing shots, and he's got you.
That was a great second serve that Becker hit on that first point, too.
Günther Bosch.
Wait.
15 all.
15 all.
Miss hit on the attempted pass, and he wasn't happy with it.
Miss hit on the return of serve, too. The second serve jumped up at McEnroe. He couldn't control it, couldn't get the pace he wanted on it, and set up the approach shot for Becker.
Boris doesn't believe it, but McEnroe at the other end was nodding.
Oh, yes. You got to hit it perfectly to get it by John. He's got such good anticipation, A, and B, if he knows where it's going, if he gets it correctly, you got no chance. Watch this. Watch McEnroe. You know, when you're going in that direction to the left, it is very difficult for you to change direction and then and cover that down the line backhand you saw Becker hit. And he didn't.
30-15.
40-15.
4 days for Becker. It was wide of the center line.
Dan Becker.
The second serve comes into McEnroe, which leaves him shaking his head. On serve,
Becker leads 5-4
in the second set.
Yes, I think they're going to call